Welcome to our channel, Gray Matters. We are two neurodivergent ladies who fixate and need to share, and we've created this channel to do just that. Check out our podcast, Fixate Today, Gone Tomorrow, for some deeper dives.
Hey listeners! Before we get going with the rest of our video today, we wanted to let you know that there are actually two of us on this channel. You mostly hear Nikki because she's better at speaking, but today we're going to try our first video in which we both talk, so don't be alarmed at the two different voices. Also, I don't think we've ever asked, but we would love for you to like and subscribe to our channel, and most importantly to us is to keep the comments coming. We love to read them and want to hear your ideas and thoughts on the case. Finally, we realize money laundering is not a topic most people are interested in, but I swear understanding it is integral to this case, or at least our theory about this case. Additionally, I have a fun tidbit to share at the end, so please watch all the way through. I promise it's worth it.
Welcome to Fixate Today, Gray Matters. Today, we are going to be talking about money laundering. What is it, and what are the laws federally and in South Carolina? Let's talk about it. The Financial Crimes Enforcement Network defines money laundering as involving, quote, disguising financial assets so they can be used without detection of the illegal activity that produced them.
Let us share this little clip that may help explain better, especially because it involves pictures.
Say you're a drug dealer, a corrupt politician, or a would-be terrorist, and you have a big sack of ill-gotten gains. How big of a sack? $1 million in cash weighs around 256 pounds. The International Monetary Fund estimates that up to 5% of the world's gross domestic product, or $1.5 trillion, is laundered every year. That's roughly 6 billion pounds, the equivalent of the Wall Street Bull, the Statue of Liberty, and the Eiffel Tower, times 300 every year. Here's how you'd clean your $1 million of dirty money in just 3 easy steps. Step 1. Placement, also known as deposit your cash in a bank. Next to how you make your money, this is the riskiest phase of the laundering process. To prevent banks from reporting you to the government, keep cash deposits to well below $10,000 and spread it out over 160 accounts in 20 or more banks. Step 2. Layering, also known as move your money around like crazy. This is the trickiest and possibly most fun stage of the laundering process. Try changing currencies with 20%, buying expensive items like houses, cars, and works of art with 30%, and investing in legitimate businesses with the final 50%. The point is to make the original dirty money impossible to trace. Step 3. Integration, also known as collecting your laundry. At this point, your money is no longer dirty. It comes back to you through a seemingly legitimate legal transaction like dividends from a savvy investment in a local Italian eatery, $56,000 to $130,000 a year. The sale of a particularly rare Thomas Kincaid painting of a lighthouse, $200,000. Or the steady stream of income brought to you by your newly acquired car wash, $100,000 to $200,000 a year. Minus various fees, bribes, and taxes, otherwise known as the cost of doing business, you can expect to make up to 80 cents on the dollar and extract your money in as little as 2 or 3 years.
Through money laundering, the criminal transforms the monetary proceeds derived from criminal activity into funds with an apparent legal source. The label of criminals in this definition includes terrorist organization, drug dealers and cartels, trafficking rings, and organized crime rings.
In fact, South Carolina has a bit of a frightening reputation when it comes to how much marijuana, cocaine, and heroin actually gets into the state. These DEU agents will tell you that South Carolina is the only state in the country where you can find every strain of heroin produced on the planet. That doesn't just happen. It happens when drug cartels find a state that welcomes their kind.
But it's not just about drugs. And we do need to understand what about South Carolina makes it so hospitable to these criminals.
It's not just one thing. It's not narcotics. It's the ability to move money, drugs, people, weapons, anything. The infrastructure is here in South Carolina just like it is in many places. And the bad guys can move anything pretty much at will.
In 2016, South Carolina passed the South Carolina Anti-Money Laundering Act. In this bill, all businesses must obtain a license before transferring business funds, exchanging currency, or advertising either of these services. Only properly licensed individuals may conduct any of these activities on behalf of a business.
The report showed there were more than 3,000 money transfer service businesses operating in just 2 coastal counties alone. Fewer than 10% were actually registered with the state. Those businesses wired nearly $700 million a year just out of the Myrtle Beach area to a handful of known cartel addresses in Mexico and Colombia, and to locations operated by Hezbollah and other known terrorist groups.
Laundering across state lines or internationally is a federal offense. Depositing or spending money over $10,000 that was acquired without proper licensing is punishable by a maximum of a 10-year prison sentence. Despite the 2016 bill, South Carolina is one of the most criminal-friendly states in terms of money laundering due to the lack of regulations, with Horry County being one of the worst offenders.
Move money through because there's really no accounting. It's sort of like a junkyard.
Those who have found the loopholes in our state laws aren't sitting back and waiting for someone to plug them either. These are multi-million-dollar, multinational organizations.
They understand the laws of South Carolina. They do risk mitigation like anybody else does, and then they leverage those weaknesses we have in resources and laws and business processes and in oversight.
And Bill Knowles.
In 2015, Horry County was declared the, quote, money laundering capital of America. Horry County has found multiple loopholes in state law to create the perfect environment for money laundering, as Tiger King star Doc Antle and convicted murderer Alec Murdaugh have both shown.
So now, do you think it's possible that money laundering could have something to do with this case? How about JP and Mark Kaufman's virtually cash-only bar, Crocodile Rocks, from which Mica allegedly said JP brought bags of money to the church? Or what about Solid Rock Church itself, which most likely relies on many cash-only donations, and as a nonprofit 501c3 organization, has minimal government oversight? Could the church's / Mark Kaufman's new plane have anything to do with nefarious activity? And is it odd that Pastor Randall has so many registered LLCs and churches in his name? And who knows about Wayne Miller's travels to Pakistan? And recently, we even heard about Tom Winslow having a church registered to him, which seems strange for an attorney. And he has that property which is on the Lumber River, which runs between the South Carolina-North Carolina state lines, and from which you can navigate all the way to the Atlantic Ocean. We would love to hear from you guys, and let us know if you think any of this could be relevant or is just coincidence. Now for the tidbit I promised. Nikki mentioned earlier Doc Antle, who was featured on Netflix's Tiger King. He actually is also from Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, and pled guilty to money laundering back in 2022.
Other people would too. Doc won't survive in sunlight.
Whenever we went anywhere, he was on the prowl. There's no greater pickup line than, "Do you want to pet my tiger?"
It sounds like...
Even more coincidental, he owned a DeLorean that was the same color as the one JP has been seen driving around. DeLoreans were produced in 1981 to 1982, and it is estimated that only 6,000 to 9,000 were manufactured, and that around 4,500 to 6,500 are still in existence. What are the chances of 2 being in Myrtle Beach?
Thanks for joining us.